Welcome everybody to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious on a TGIF day here on November 8th, 2024. We've got a little unusual situation here that's awesome. We're talking to Marty Winkle in New York, Long Island. He is remotely controlling the program here on a remote Streamlabs. Hi, Marty. They might be able to hear you. Say hi.
Hey, Mark.
Well, thanks.
Hope everything's going well there.
Yeah, we'll give a stab at it here. We've got John, our great new volunteer, John Graham, had a emergency situation at home. Everything's fine though, but he couldn't come in and do the program, and he and Marty have been rehearsing this, so we can help. And I feel wonderful that my big brother Marty there wants to contribute even this far away, and so we'll give it a spin here. We've got some two wonderful astronaut birthdays that you may have saw on Facebook, but not all of you are Facebookers. And we're going to talk about those two individuals. One of them involves our question of the day that Marty has. Remember, Steve Jokums, you've won already this week, so we're going to allow you to each of y'all to win once a week. And Marty is pretty tickled. He stumped y'all yesterday. What was that question again, Marty?
An astronaut went to the, I forget the name of the museum.
Mike Collins's office, yes, at the Smithsonian, yeah. And said, "I'm going to be."
Said, my name.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, she said, "My name is blank. I want to be an astronaut." And then John Collins, was it Collins? Anyway, no, it wasn't Collins. It was.
There's Mike Collins. Yeah, director. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And that astronaut was.
It was Judy Resnick.
Judy Resnick.
Learn as much as she can about the space shuttle.
Yeah. Marty's a voracious reader of all those books out there, and that's where he's harvesting some of these questions that we're doing once a day there. So, well, let's kick it off here, Marty. We are indebted to the wonderful financial contributions of the Ramanujan family. This is their gohistorytravel.org website. They also have a Facebook presence. Last time I caught up with them, they were in Italy, and they have fun doing this. It's not. It's a way that they travel around the world. Mile, Rama, and Bharat, their son, and they'll be on the Space Coast. Haven't seen them in a while, Marty, but they'll be coming around here, I'm sure, this winter. So thank you all for all of your contributions to the American Space Museum as we're upgrading this program. John and Marty are working on new visuals. We're going to have a completely different look. We'll launch that slowly and roll it out, but we're excited for our potential that we can have and get some of you back on the show again like we had one time and in an easier way. So look forward to that. And our loyal followers that you all are there. We got some regulars on there like Doug Forrest, Dave Stengy, Larry Pusker, Robert Laws up in Dundee, Scotland. How's your cocktail Friday night? All right. Cliff Watson is about to wake up. I think his alarm clock's on the half hour because he's in the coast, what do they call it? The Gold Coast, the Surfers Coast of Australia. Christopher Mick and Tony Achilles and Emily Carney, we love you being on the show. Emily, of course, Space Hipsters #1. Hazel Banks, hi Hayes, she's probably watching. Gary Gerald is up there in Collins, Georgia, and I might be coming through there, Gary, for Thanksgiving. Try to stop by if I can. We'll see. See you and your wife Donnie. Daniel DeYoung's our airline pilot. Melissa Pope works in one of the offices here. I hadn't heard from her in a while. Of course, Tom Cilentano's watching today, I'll bet. We hadn't heard from Ben Husett in a while, Marty. Or Ophelia. Ophelia Sauterelle is in Normandy, France. Hadn't heard from her for a while. Pam Shivik is an astronomy friend of mine. Keith Sewell is also an astronomy friend of mine. And Angela Butler, Chris Feely, Michael Boyd, Amanda Chambers. If your name's not up there, it soon will be. I'll be creating a new list here, but you know, it's November, time for Thanksgiving, and we are very thankful for each and every one of you spending some of your valuable time today watching. And William Whiting, hope you're enjoying your supper with your wife. Marty, he said when we're not live, they eat an early supper up there in Michigan that they don't know what to watch. So we appreciate that. And yeah, I spent 35 years in Appalachia. Dinner is actually lunch to the Appalachians, and supper is the final meal of the day. So background here is our fabulous Space View Park, the shuttle monuments. Marty, you on this back one back there, I think, right?
Yes, on shuttle. Yeah.
He's
The
on
what?
one of those there, and the 35 new guys is right on the left there. Uh, that all those astronauts to fly that were hired to fly on the shuttle. Sandmeyer Metalworks donated this beautiful stainless steel at all of our parks. They're a Pittsburgh company, and the family members have come out and seen that years ago. So that's our backdrop there. Why? Because 10 years ago, November 1st, this was dedicated. All right, quite a project. The whole Spaceview Park is a $1 million project that the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation, our nonprofit, raised, and taking $100, put your name on a pylon there in the offices. People would come in and say, "My father died. Here's his box of stuff we found in the closet next to his bowling ball bag, and we don't know what it is. You can have it." And literally, the museum was sprung out of generous donations like that. So, quite a history here, and it got me 7 years ago hooked, and I'm very grateful to be part of it today. So, we'll talk a little more about that. Well, I'll have some pictures of Spaceview Park at the end here as we celebrated yesterday a wonderful program on the Gemini Monument being 27 years old and dedicated yesterday right on the river, the Indian River up there. So, Marty, are you talking like an amateur astronomer yet?
Almost every night, Mark.
Good, good. Even the cloudy ones, huh? Well, how many days old is the moon today? Well, it's 7 days old. And as you see by my chart here, 7 days, it is first quarter moon. And it is going to be at sunset, it'll be about directly south, high up in the sky, depending on your latitude. And way to the right of it will be the brightest star in the evening, and that is Venus. And Venus will look so beautiful in the pinkish clouds, shining bright wherever you are. Now, here in Florida, that moon's way high up. But where Dave Stange is in Michigan, there in Macomb, Michigan, it's going to be lower to the horizon. And as it sets, you're going to be seeing the effect of the moon illusion, where you're going to see it's going to look gigantic compared to the building or the tree or the mountain that it's next to. But if you hold your hand out and put your little pinky out there, you can cover up the moon with your little pinky. That's a half a degree of the sky. And I was talking and have my astronomy shirt on today because I went out to the Native Rhythm Festival in Melbourne, Florida, at Wickham Park, and I did a talk on Native American constellations that seemed to go over pretty well. So if you're local in the area, the Native American Rhythm Dance is going on at Wickham Park in Melbourne, and it just looks like a lot of fun. I didn't take time to load up any pictures, but maybe I'll show some of those off Monday on there. But yes, 7 day old moon. The gibbous phase between the full moon, which is 14 days old, is there on 12 days. The cycle of the moon is that it goes around the earth once every 29 and a half days. Earth is spinning eastward at 1,100 miles an hour. The moon's going 1,000 miles an hour faster, at a little over 2,100 miles an hour. So like a fast car on the racetrack of an oval, it laps the earth whole every 29 and a half days. So thus we have the cycles, and why astronomers give the name of the moon. If I say the moon's 17 days old, I know it's not going to be in the night sky until after midnight. All right, after closer to midnight, like 11 o'clock. If I say it's 7 days old, it's going to be up there in the evening like it will be tonight. So go get you some moonshine, everybody, across wherever you're at in our fruited plains. After all, moonshine's the kind that you can't get too much of. So enjoy it. And you throw some binoculars that you take to the ball games, you're going to see craters along that terminator between night and day. And I'll be trying to do that tonight if it's clear. Well, thank you, Carlton Bailey. As usual, CB's can't let a launch pass up without looking at it through his telephoto lens. I think you were out at the Port St. John boat dock for this one, and he'll chime in there. By the way, yeah, I haven't seen my. There we are. Okay, let's see if I can see everybody's comments there as I'm pushing my. Yay, that works. CB, were you out there at the Port St. John dock? I think you were. I can almost tell by the wires there. But he got some good shots of a Starlink going up. This is from about 9 miles away from the pad where the public can go. And nice little lift off there. We had cloudy skies here. It literally went up and immediately into the clouds. Just 15 miles away, not even that, probably 8 miles away from where you were. And then the close-up with the telephoto lens. That's really a nice, sweet close-up there. Sharp image. You see the good flame coming off those 9 Merlin engines, and nice, clear shot there. So Carlton Bailey's always been willing to share his images with us, and he is a pro, over 700 rocket launches. And I believe we'll be watching some Godzilla over the weekend. I think you told me this was the 70th birthday of Godzilla. And he says, yep, it was pretty windy, he said there. Yeah, it was so windy here, even watching it on Spaceflight Now, Steve Young's website, that I thought, man, that's pretty windy. Might go past the restrictions there. Doug Forrest says hello to us. Hi back to you, buddy. Steve Jokums. Hi to everyone on Stay Curious. And Steve says, hi, Marty. And the rest of you chiming in there. Dave Stangy. He said he can hear Marty good, so he can hear you talking. And I'm even going to lower the microphone down there a little bit. Is my outdoor voice. Make sure I didn't push the button there. So we'll have to do a show on the Starlinks, Marty, of how many are up there. I think they're almost up to 7,000, and what kind of net they're providing around our globe here. But it's definitely a good thing, and I've seen some stats of where SpaceX is bringing down the cost of putting things into space to under $5,000 a pound. It was well known in the shuttle era. It was $10,000 a pound to put something on the shuttle. And I saw a figure of $3,800 per pound for several of Elon Musk's launches. He charges about $60 million to the customers to do that. Of course, this is his own satellite constellation system. So, but still, he's an educated man. He probably clears that ledger off as if he is paying for it, because he is. Happy birthdays here. Happy birthdays to two really cool astronauts. I'm going to talk about Ed Gibson in a little bit of detail. Happy 88th birthday to Edward George Gibson, born November 8th. 1936 in Buffalo, New York. He grew up in Kenmore, New York. He spent at that time in 1974 a record 84 days in space as a member of the all-rookie 3-man crew of Skylab. I got a picture of them. Here's Ed a couple years ago at the Astronaut Hall of Fame ceremonies there. I've seen recent pictures of Ed. He looks very fit for 88 years old. We've tried several times to get him on the show, and it's not panned out, and that's okay. We're going to have Emily Carney on doing Stay Curious once in a while, hosting it, and she's done a lot of in-depth podcasts and writings about the Skylab crew, and I think she's met Ed several times at the Space Fest. So Ed Gibson is a friend and supporter of the American Space Museum, having participated in fundraising events for our nonprofit, the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation. There he is. Skylab 3, the engineers, like Marty, called it Skylab 4 because they considered Skylab 1 to be the orbital workshop itself. Excuse me. And as you see, the patch has a 3 ingrained in it. That's how Ed signs his name, too, by the way. I like showing you a picture once in a while of what their signatures look like. And so Ed was selected as a scientist astronaut by NASA in 1965, okay? And he was part of the Apollo era astronauts, but didn't make that a moon trip. But instead, he was assigned to the last uh, Skylab mission of 3, and there's the reminder of that with Jerry Carr and Bill Pogue, both deceased. Okay, Jerry Carr, another wonderful friend of the museum. He was a rookie commander, Jerry Carr was. But Gibson, truly a solar physicist, okay? And he wrote a book. He actually took a year off from his astronaut duties when he came back to write a book about solar physics based on the Skylab data. Now, you see the big windmill behind them on the model. That was the power for this powerful telescope and everything on it. That was at the time the most advanced study of our sun at the time. And Ed knows all about that. And if I ever get him on Stay Curious, that's what I want to talk about more than anything else is the solar physics. Um, he's been on the Space Coast off and on living. But that's Jerry Carr, by the way, in a famous shot in the cavernous Skylab, man. Those guys were spoiled, all the room they had in it. Of course, it was launched on a Saturn 1B there on the left there on the celebrated milk stool. But how did all of this, and he did an EVA. Okay, and I believe Ed did the last EVA in the Skylab. Steve Jokums will correct me if I'm wrong on that. And I do appreciate you all correcting me on things, as I don't use a script very often. But we're getting into the teleprompter world, maybe, Marty, with some of my astronomy things I've written out over the years. That'll be good. But Ed Gibson has talked over and over, and one of the things he talks about in his talk is that and this is a quote from him on something he wrote somewhere about his career. He says, "I'm just an average person with average abilities. How did an elementary school failure like me and a mediocre high school student manage to do this?" And there's some legacy about he was a little bit of a troublemaker or something in elementary school, but didn't get very good grades. Marty told me that the Scott twins also didn't set the world on fire with honor rolls and things like that in school. But they did the same thing Ed Gibson did, hard work. All right. How did I do this? Simple. After some hard work and some success, I began to realize it was the hard work that led to success. That instilled confidence in my abilities. That in turn led to higher aspirations and higher performance. One step at a time. Work hard, succeed. Work hard, succeed. You can do it too. And never, 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 never give up, he says in this thing. And this was something he wrote to a kid. Now that this was something that I pulled off that he had written to a student to encourage them to never give up and to work hard and then succeed and work hard and succeed. And I think I'm a little bit of testimony to that myself, Marty, is I pretty much don't have an off switch anymore. But it pays off, and it pays off for me in the terrific friends I have out there, like all of you watching today. Many of you, I think all of you, but a handful, I personally met and hope to meet you soon, either in the museum or at Shuttlefest. Well, Ed Gibson wrote two novels. He was working on a third novel, scouring the internet. I can't find that third one's come out. This was his first one, and I apologize I didn't write down the publishing dates. I believe this was in the mid-90s, called Reach, and this was a novel. Reach is the story of Commander Jake Ryder and the Wayfarer 2, a deep space probe sent out to determine the fate of its sister ship, turned suddenly and mysteriously silent. And that's a theme that other people have copied. It's a heart-stopping account of uncommon courage and resolve in the face of awesome and destructive forces at the limits of human understanding. And I've started this book and set it down, but it says that the publicity of it said, like no novel of its kind ever written, Reach takes you into the cockpit and into deep space, coming alive with the kind of detail that only can be provided by one who has ventured where few have gone. It is a breathtaking experience. And Ed Gibson has a great command of the English language. And reading this book that I thoroughly enjoyed, In the Wrong Hands, Ed, his descriptions of being in space are some of the best I've ever read of anybody. This is about a man named Joe Rebello, who is in a group of moon missions that are orbiting the moon uh, and going down to the moon. And there's a secret base that is hands off, and they're mining something that's very important to mankind, quite possibly. And this Joe Rebello is the protagonist. He's the hero, and there's plenty of protagonists in there. There's a big message there of cloning, as I recall. There's several clone humans in there, and I thought Joe Rebello, what a obvious name, Marty, for a hero. Okay, out there. I mean, that's too made up, Joe Rebello. And then we have got a docent named Gordon Rebello, and you know Gordon very well, Marty, and his wife Janice, and they're great. He's an awesome uh, uh, docent. Gordon Rebello is. And I told him that. I said, "You need to read this book by Gibson." I couldn't believe that I met a Rebello. Okay, with rebellion. That's why he was a rebellious astronaut. Kind of did things his own way, a John Wayne type of person. Uh, uh, and he risks his life to penetrate a mysterious lunar laboratory where the genetic experiments of a twisted genius threaten humanity. So I know Steve Jokums has already got that baby ordered on Amazon on there. And he wrote a couple other books. One is called Space. Uh, oh man, I didn't get my notes. I didn't print my notes out on that. I had a little hiccup on my side of the fence here today to print out stuff. But uh, he wrote a book about the universe and space that I looked on Amazon, and a paperback copy is like $70. It's out of print, hardback's about 110. There might be some other places to find it in there, and I can't get those notes in my hands, so I'm not going to try to paraphrase that. But then the Crew Dragon 2, when they went up to space, they it was the anniversary of Skylab, and in 1974. So they talked to no, what this was they were 84 days in space and eclipsing 85, and they wanted to talk to Ed Gibson, who'd spent 84 days in space, then the world record at the time. So the whole crew talked to him. I think you can see Ed there on the laptop. So happy 88th birthday to you, Ed Gibson. Oh, there's the other book I was talking about. Space, Even Farther, Even Faster Now. This is a hard to find book, apparently, but he kind of recaps the entire space program from Sputnik on, and which very much affected and influenced him on there. So a great writer. Like I said, he really handles the English language well, of conveying what it feels like to be in outer space. I particularly enjoy those parts of his book, and the plots are great too. They're page turners. So he's got a third book I know he was working on, and that was what I was going to use to try to get him on here. So if somebody finds that third novel that he's written, please message me or email me. I'll be grateful to follow up on it. So. Well, another astronaut happy birthday that's really a good one today is Rhea Seddon. All right. Dr. Margaret Rhea Seddon was born in Murfreesboro, Tennessee on November 8th, 1947. That makes her 77 years old. She was the first of 6 women chosen as NASA in 1979. She was in the first of 6 women chosen by NASA in 1979 through 3 missions for 30 days in space: STS 51D, STS 40, and STS 58. Okay, and that begs, there's the first women in space. Okay, our first American lady astronauts, Shannon Lucid on the left. She was the tallest. Look at Rhea, the smallest. Kathy Sullivan there on the right. The late Judy Resnick on the other side of the EVA suited astronaut. Anna Fisher. And of course, Sally Ride on the right. Just saw Anna Fisher last week, Marty. I know she's a favorite of yours to go out there, and she's looking good as always. So, Marty, your question. Marty's trivia question of the day. I'll let it pop up there for you, Marty, so you can see it, and then you can give it there. Let's see what the delay is. 3, 2, 1. I think it's coming up there.
6 American women
There we
in
go.
space. In what order did Ray is set in flight? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth?
All right. Very simple. Of our
No
6
answer, Jack.
women astronauts that we celebrate all 80 of them now in our Women in Space Gallery, which was Rhea's? We probably know she wasn't the first, but so she's the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth in that order there. So if you won this week, you can't answer, but we want to hear your guesses in there, okay, everybody, and we'll reveal the answer here in just a couple minutes or so. There's Rhea in space there, and yes, she was a Tennessee volunteer. She went first to the University of California, Berkeley, got her graduate degree, and then she went to the University of Tennessee College of Medicine, where she became a medical doctor in 1973. During her residency at the University of Tennessee Hospitals, go Vols, 35 years there. I like to see the big orange. She was the only woman in the general surgery residency program, all right? And before, during, and after her career in the astronaut program, she was active in emergency rooms in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Texas. Houston, of course, kept her medical skills up there. Of course, she was married and still is married. There's our question there, to Hoot Gibson. Okay, Hoot, 4-time shuttle pilot, maybe 5. I think he was 4, 3 times a commander. And they've been married for an awful long time. They got married in 1981. All right. And I could have used another question there, couldn't I, Marty? But we'll use that another time. They had the first child in July 82 of an American astronaut couple, a boy named Paul. They got 3 children together, all right? And she wrote a beautiful book. I've not read it, but I've heard it's good. There's Hoot with her. Would you believe that Hoot Gibson, when he retired after being a fabulous shuttle commander and a real leader in that first 40 flights, he became a Southwest airline pilot. All right, and flew, I think, for 10 years, and boy, that'd give you some confidence getting on that plane, Marty, and knowing that Hoot Gibson was behind the wheel there. And of course, all women think men look handsome in those uniforms or any uniform like that. Look at Rhea looking at him like that there. He was also, it was not about him as much as her. He raced airplanes in around the speed racing loops out there in the Southwest. So Rhea wrote a book, Go for Orbit. I've not read it, but I know it was a very popular book. There she is with it, looking so charming, published in 2015. Go for Orbit, one of America's first women astronauts finds her space. Someone else that bridges the space between us, huh, Marty? And it actually won the Book Publishers Association Ben Franklin Award for Best Autobiography Memoir. So if you haven't read that, and I haven't, I'll go see if it's at the library. So quite a gal, really a inspiration, of course, to women and men everywhere for what she and the first 6 women astronauts did to be integrated into NASA in 1979. All right, before the first shuttle flew in 81, we were training female astronauts. And that's something that the Chinese have done, Marty. They've integrated the Chinese women very quickly into their space program. And the 80th woman to go to space is their first female engineer to go to space. And she's up there with 2 other tachionauts on the Tiangong space station that will give you an upgrade about next week. So, coming on the home stretch here of Stay Curious for another week. Marty, I believe this is our 1160th episode, my friend. And he and I are both very proud of what we've accomplished here as outreach for you all. So, before we get to the question of when did Rhea fly, was she 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 in the queue of the first women to go to space? Don't see any questions there. Oh, there we go. We've got Stangy says 5th. Celentano thinks she was 5th. Nick Sedler, thank you. We enjoy you being on the program for the past year. CB, yep, I got your pictures in just under the wire there. And Dave Stangy, this is his 6th year anniversary of visiting the museum for the first time. So glad you did. Wow, you're a year behind me. Marty says somebody's reading, or Carlton says somebody's reading the book Reach because he sold it at our memorabilia show Saturday. And if I hadn't mentioned it, thank you everybody for helping us make that a success. We made cleared $900 for the museum, and very grateful for that. We'll have another one February 22nd, and that will be, I guarantee you, we'll have somebody autographing books there for that one at the Cocoa Beach Beachside Hotel and Suites. All right, one little item of news today that I left my notes on, so I'm going to try to paraphrase this because this is our X-37B spy shuttle. All right, looks definitely a mini shuttle. This is when it came back to Earth after 900 days in orbit. We have 2 of these, we being the Department of Defense, and these are becoming very important, okay, in our learning some things that we need to learn tactically in space, all right, and that's a military word. So why is it in the news? It hasn't come back. There's 2 of them. Each has been up there for over a year. I think this is the 3rd trip to space for this one. I think the other one's been up 3 times also. They're doing some maneuvers that have never been done in space before by a orbiting vehicle like this. They are, first of all, it's in a highly elliptical orbit in a geosynchronous Earth orbit, where it goes 22,000 miles up where these communication satellites are. And then it dips all the way down to about 90 to 100 miles. Well, above the Earth's atmosphere barely. Well, they've been dipping it into the Earth's atmosphere, and this is the illustration from the DoD this week, showing that they are aerobraking this vehicle to change its direction and orbit, and that conserves a lot of energy in the thrusters and also conserves the valuable vectors that these spacecraft are aiming for and flying in. So this is a very unusual one for Boeing. Boeing built this. Boeing made the announcement at the permission of the Department of Defense that they're taking this little guy and actually letting it touch the edges of our atmosphere to slow it down, and as it banks and so forth, they can change the angle of the orbit. And it's going way back up 22,000 miles, and then it'll come back down and refine that so that they can learn ways to maneuver spacecraft without burning up a lot of excess energy in the thruster fuel and so forth. So apparently this is a very groundbreaking thing. By the way, the hazmat gear is because of all the hypergolics and fuels that are coming off of this X-37B. Uh, it also mentioned that it was disposing of some uh, uh, unwanted, I forget the term, I don't have my notes, unwanted things out of the back end of it is actually a trunk that goes up there and is jettisoned when it lands. So the back end of this thing is covered up with another area that has experiments and who knows what there that they're testing. So the story said that they were probably getting rid of space junk, all right? And this could be a way of capturing things in space as space junk and then bringing them down into the atmosphere and releasing them to burn up over the ocean. So, very strange that they're letting us know about this because it's very much spy versus spy. China has a knockoff of this orbiting. Ours, when the payload bays are open, a solar panel comes out. Okay, so they're closing those payload bay doors to practice this maneuver. Then maybe they open them and unfurl it. There are space satellite watchers all over the world that are keeping tabs of this. And so we'll catch up on that. So that's one of the big breaking news stories of I'll bet you didn't know, except you're finding out here on Stay Curious. So, well, we had some good guesses there, Marty. Steve Jokums thinks she's the sixth woman in space. Celentano the fifth, Stangy the fifth, and she is indeed the fifth woman to go to space. Uh, American woman, all right, and that would make her the seventh woman. Well, now that make her the eighth because they must have had the Russian that went up twice and did an EVA. Valentina Tereshkova and that other lady whose name escapes me were for the longest time the only women. But by the way, Russia's only put up 5 women in space, and one of them was an actress that did a movie up there. All right, yes, she was very qualified. So we put up over 60 of the 80 women who've been in space are American women. So. Well, we enjoyed Marty's Space Trivia of the Day question. And if you'd like to suggest a question that you think would stump people to Marty, but then of course you'd be ineligible to answer it, we welcome you to do so. Well, winding up today on this photograph of the Gemini monument that was dedicated 27 years ago yesterday. There is the beautiful trees that are around the 2 for the Roman numeral 2 for the Roman brothers, Romulus and Remus, the Gemini twins, however you want to look at this, that the program was named after. Now, again, it is the constellation Gemini, the twins, that we will be looking at this fall above Orion and next to Taurus the Bull. Or if you have to take a little bathroom break, like I do some mornings at 3, 4 in the morning, you go outside and look south, you'll see Orion directly south and Gemini above it. And so that is the Roman god of that. I lost my train of thought about where I was going with the Gemini, the twins. Oh yes, of course, we call it Gemini, and NASA actually did a press release in 1965 at the beginning of the program, and said it's the constellation Gemini, and the program's name is Gemini, like Gemini Cricket, and maybe that could be a question, okay? Gemini Cricket is, of course, introduced the Walt Disney's Wide World of Color, or a Wide World of Everything there on Sunday nights to us baby boomers. And Gemini Cricket was in Pinocchio, one of the characters in that. And he sang the song, When You Wish Upon a Star, makes no difference who you are. So I'll spare you. I'll spare you right there, Marty. I'll stop. So, but it's Gemini, all right, program. And we had a great program on it yesterday. Go back and check it out on YouTube. And there's the beautiful Space View Park dedicated 10 years ago. Talking to some people, they just can't imagine what that time's flown by like that. It looks beautiful. The city found police and everybody's really keeping it clean. We had a horrible vagrant problem a couple years ago where people were just camping out there and thought they were completely entitled to. And it's not like that anymore. And I regularly see our public affairs officer at the police station, Amy Stevens, and she's just done a. Every time I see her, I say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is so important to our museum and our community that you can walk among our heroes, our national treasures, the space workers in these monuments that to me you're looking at the Taj Mahal, you're looking at the Eiffel Tower there when you're talking about the 30-year legacy of America's space program. And around the sides, those marble etched in there are each of the processes and tributes to each of the 5 orbiters there, as well as the names of the space workers like Marty that are etched there forever. To the left is the 35 new guys. And yes, we have a monument there to in tribute to the Columbia and Challenger astronauts. And frequently, people leave flowers there, particularly roses. And it's a man named Mr. Hall does that a lot too, and posts them on Facebook for us. So just to let you all know that our heroes that have lost their lives, the Apollo, Challenger, and Columbia astronauts, will never, ever be forgotten as long as these monuments are standing. And we hope to see you at our Spaceview Park, as you see a good crowd there walking around, enjoying the handprints of the Apollo astronauts or what are tilted there. You can put your handprints on Bill Anders, Gene Cernan, Tom Stafford. Nowhere in the world can you do that except here. And on the other side of the A is a beautiful statue of President John F. Kennedy giving his famous speech at Rice University that we'll be hearing that speech 100 years from now. Marty and I won't be hearing it, but probably none of you either. But I think that's something that will always be tagged to America's greatest conquest of going and fulfilling man's greatest adventure to the moon. So that's it for today. All right. Pretty flawless there with my friend Marty, 1,000 miles away from us here. You're probably about 1,500 miles away, my friend. Thank you so much. Why don't you say something to our loyal Stay Curious fans out there?
I hope they all have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday.
And Monday is an important one. It's Veterans Day, and we'll be here. And did you say Sunday was the 249th anniversary of the Marine Corps?
249th birthday.
Oh, birthday.
Marine Corps.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have some Monday. We will have some tributes on Veterans Day. Cliff Watson just jumped in there from Australia, so we know that the world's going to have a Saturday. At least that part of the world has Saturday there, Cliffy. So good to see you. We're working on ways to bring you in, and all of you, Steve Jokums and Tom Celentano and Dave Stange, back on to be on our screen and share a little bit of our Stay Curious program with us. So thank you all for supporting us, and another great week. And for Monday, we will talk about military astronauts on Veterans Day. So if you're a veteran, hoorah to you all out there for your service. And we'll talk more about that on Monday. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you then to bridge the space between us. Good job, Marty. Excellent. You were pretty smooth on your end there?
Oh, yeah. No problems at all.
All right.